We are live. Spoilers in this video for the entire season. So, thoughts season 1 without a trace show. Just covering my bases in case there's a video game. Yeah, I'd play that. So, briefly off topic, the trailer for Underwater went up on the 19th of August. They already adapted Soma, the video game, into a movie. Yeah. And we're gonna see. I don't think there's anything interesting in this particular part, so we're gonna go directly to the first episode, appropriately titled Pilot. I like the opening, and I quite like the fading in and out as Jack imagines the one of the very first scenes. And Martin serves as the audience surrogate so that Jack can say the names of the other three working in the unit and explain the after 48 hours they're gone thing. Martin, I know you're new, but when you say we're in, you have to do the hack voice. Contractually obligated. I can't help but wonder if Tom Wilkins is the father of Tom Wilkins' son. You know, Tom Wilkins' son. Cleverly written email. To have your cake and eat it with whipped cream. Good line. And I always type something about Brian being dangerous. Yeah. And the father thinks that Maggie wasn't serious about Brian. Everyone we talk to see a different Maggie. Jack thinks it's suicide. And then they go, it's been 51 hours. I was wondering why it told us what time it was, rather than how many hours had passed since they were missing. And the parents disagree on what to do about ransom. That gives us less than 10 hours. And Danny threatens Chico, and she bought coke from him. And Vivian thinks that Tom and Maggie faked the kidnapping. She was saying goodbye. And Martin goes to the technician's home without telling the other agents. And the technician has a picture of Maggie and her backpack. Let's see. And yeah, Danny is going after the technician. The others find in the bathtub. And Jack is frustrated that Martin went off on his own. And Bart thought that he would be going with her to Nepal. He felt that loving her was super easy, barely an inconvenience, and it turned out he misread their relationship. Bart's real name was Joseph Dima. He's wanted for murder in Delaware. He would have killed Maggie. Now, there are 5 minutes and 50 seconds of deleted scenes on the DVD. A longer flashback with Bart and Maggie meeting for the first time, and she talks about how much she loves Nepal, and longer flashback of her meeting Bart, the bit where he ties her up. And this episode has a commentary, and let's see. originally the Maggie, the Maddie, whatever, the missing person of the episode was supposed to have a sister, and one of the first shots were supposed to be from her perspective. And they talk about the changes made from the pilot to show, such as the set when they're talking about what they have so far, which, you know, I'm not sure I would have noticed as much if I hadn't watched the commentary. Sorry about moving the camera there. But yeah, it's, you know, once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's one of those. Now, and it was the network that asked them to have the 48-hour thing. Originally, Danny was supposed to be a completely different character, but the actor they cast came in and was so charismatic, so they just changed the character to fit his performance. And one of the, I think these are the two executive producers on the commentary track. One of them says, I was worried if Jack deciphering the email would work. Let's see. Yeah, it worked when it was in the script, but the actor really made it work in the episode itself. And the network was worried that Maggie and Samantha looked too much like each other, two blondes. And Maggie and her father have a very odd relationship, enough to make you run away to Nepal. And right, there was some where they didn't quite get coverage or something, so they had to flip of a shot, and suddenly Samantha's hair is parted on the wrong side. It's one of those things that, you know, yeah. They didn't realize they missed that coverage until they were editing, I think. Was the sense I got. And let's see. She's running away in high heels to Nepal, which was kind of a mistake. Don't know how that happened. I really like the look that Samantha does when Martin says he has experience with booty calls. And if you like the scene where Sam and Jack talk very late at night, seems to suggest that they maybe had a relationship or have one. Basically, originally they were talking about food, but then it turned out that Samantha's outfit for the second day didn't fit, so they had to comment that she wore the same outfit the whole time, and so they wrote in the line about how she hasn't slept in the change of clothes, but he thinks she looks good, and it ends up with, yeah. Having, you know, I watched the season finale just before watching this. There, Jack pretty much admits to having had a relationship with Samantha, so I guess they just leaned into it. I forget when that first appears in this season, but I think we had heard about it between the pilot and the finale. I just didn't note it, I don't think. And they made sure to cut it so that the looks between Danny and Martin to show that Martin's out of line, he's showing off, and Danny does not like that. And the different characters run down different leads, and none of them are panning out, I think. Yeah, but hopefully we're building tension. And I like the transition into her leaving the message, and compare the camera move to a tape rewinding. And they joke Martin shouldn't have gone to LA, which doubles for New York. And now we know from the picture that the tech guy is the bad guy, and then that Martin is in trouble because he's with him. And the New York and the West Coast offices, of the FBI have opposite opinions on a number of things, so it's difficult to research for the show creators. And now talk about that Martin thought he was doing incredibly on his first day, showing showing up Danny, but then he ends up in the hospital. And it's all about the acting of the tech guy and how the scene turns as Bart realizes that she doesn't want him to go to Nepal, and that he can take advantage of the situation. And they discuss the decision to have the reveal that Bart's a murderer. And yeah, it's a great opening episode. The yeah, it's one of those things like, he's not necessarily really, excuse me, in love with her, but he is infatuated with her. But when he realizes that she does not really feel, she likes him, but she considers him a friend. And yeah, at that point, the fact that he then goes and takes advantage, he's gonna go to Nepal himself, and this whole thing. Yeah, if he actually loved her, he wouldn't be treating her like that. But that is the thing. There are a lot of people who can't handle being turned down. Next, second episode, Birthday Boy. Let's see. Very tense opening scene. We really hope that the kid won't be the one to disappear, but we do know he probably will be. Just I wanted to make sure that sometimes the missing person, I wanted to make sure to note in the review, sometimes the missing person that's kind of, maybe in bad taste, like when the pregnant woman disappears and the toddler, that's toddler and there we go. There were 50,000 people, 10,000 kids his own age. To quote Lindsay Ellis from our video on the Two Towers, okay, we get it, it's hopeless. I really like the intro sequence, the opening titles, very tense. I forget if there's a major change to that other than, I'm going to go ahead and say, perhaps later in the show, there will be either an addition or subtraction of a main cast member. This never would have happened, Jay. It's so sad how bitter Mets fans are. Break major protocol first day, that's what happens. How long does it take to get out of his doghouse? Depends on the dog. Don't mind Danny. He's just marking his territory. Every single one of those lines is really great. Just yeah. It's time to feed the baby anyway. And we all know that's too horrifying a sight to put on a TV show, at least with this rating. I'm kidding. Or rather, I'm being sarcastic. Obviously it is, society's terrified of the female nipple. Yeah, just briefly, which is ridiculous because the whole point of it is that it feeds babies. It's been sexualized, but it feeds babies. So now we're afraid of showing something that literally keeps our species alive. We consider that to be too, anyway, very compelling as Jack explains the patterns. quite like the actor who plays the father. I think I've liked him in everything I've seen him in. So he got off on the wrong stop and then apparently got back on the subway. She's finally asleep. You hear that, censors? You don't have to worry about seeing a woman's nipple. Now, let's see some more people wielding guns, and let's mention pedophilia some more. How did a scalper get Dave's ticket? And Vivian points out that Martin didn't start off with the right foot. Danny? The kid is really great at selling that ticket. Like, this. He is a natural. Father asks for a polygraph. Another kid's wearing Gabe's jacket, and there's blood on the sleeve. And blood on the jacket is O positive, same as Gabe's. 45 hours missing. Yeah, the police don't help minorities in situations like that. Wanted to go to Texas, 47 hours missing. And the father gets very upset when they tell him about the email. And they don't know who the father is, and then we find out the birth father died 3 years ago. 49 hours missing. And they go to Santa Fe, and it seems like they've spotted the boy by the jungle gym. Second suspect running towards Lake. And Martin got to the suspect before Jack caught up to him. Not gonna lie, the opening of the episode where Gabe disappears and the ending where he meets back up with his parents, it gets to me. I love this episode and I love this show. I think I saw one of the critics say, oh, there's a huge, drop in quality between the pilot and the second episode. I really don't agree. Yeah. That brings us to... Wow, this is going to be a comparatively short video. Short by my standards. It's this short for each of them. He saw, she saw. Now, the DVD will not play this episode for me, so I'm gonna, let's see. Do I remember this from, I copied in the episode descriptions. No, I simply don't remember. Now, between the cracks. The reason I made a section for it, even though I wasn't sure I'd be able to remember, is that I'd rather have, like, if somebody goes to find, if there's a specific episode they want to hear me talk about, and it's just not there on the list, I don't know, I don't like when I look for something and it's just not there. I would rather click on it and then be told, oh, I just don't remember this episode. Besides which, if you look up the time codes, you're going to be able to tell that I don't talk about the episode for more than 40 seconds. So you have a pretty good idea. That's, yeah. Now, they don't know what she looks like, and they don't know when she disappeared. That is going to be tough. Yeah, why does it say 5 hours ago when they later say 8 days? I guess 5 hours ago is when the roommate noticed about the cat or something. About 20 of them quit each week. That may very well be true. A lot of people in the long run cannot stand jobs like that. You don't pee where you work or something. That is not the saying at all. It's you don't sit where you work. No, wait. Sorry, that's not it either. You don't sit where you eat. That's it. And the bartender hits on Samantha, and clearly she's experienced that before and takes it in stride. Honestly, if she hadn't gotten used to it by then, she probably would have quit, and gotten a job where it is based on her appearance. And wait, or maybe like a job where she doesn't meet new people all the time, something. And the guy working at the soup kitchen recognizes her. He recognizes Eve as Becky with the good hair. She's been gone 6 days. We got 20 of these bad boys in the ceiling. Grabbing things from bad boys is tight. And Vivian figures her real name is Becky because church might be the one place you do use your real name. So there's a family out there looking, but they're looking for Becky, not Eve. Excuse me. No matter how many times I allow this laptop to restart after downloading an update, it always needs to restart the next time I start it up. So I've just stopped letting it. I certainly am not going to let it while I'm trying to read the notes. Video. And Vivian thinks Jack. Oh, let's check Chet Collins. Yeah, let him go so he can move on with his life instead of looking for a son who's been gone for 5 years by now. I like the scene where they talk to Brady. Yeah, let me just briefly say, I voice type all these notes, so if I get and I don't always, I'm not always able to proofread them, so if I get a name wrong, it's simply because I didn't realize that it voice typed it wrong when yeah. And Green explains that it sounds like she was willing to. Jack tells Chet he should move on, but refuses to. And we find out that Gorn Brady and was pimping the girls to Fallon, and the girls didn't even know. Eve and Rena get forced to table dance, and Eve rushes out. It's starting to seem like a new Sean Collins. And Jack points out that the name on the fake ID might be what she's under. And it's a great, because like it's only at that point that you realize, that you really think of that's, yeah, they found a girl with a fake ID, so they assume that the name on the fake ID is that's the name they place her under, when the agents have been looking for her under her real name and under the stage name or something of Eve or Evie, something like that. But they didn't actually know what the name on the fake ID was, and it's, yeah, people get a different name than their own on a fake ID, and she was using a fake ID because she's underage. And yeah, and the guy touches her and she runs off, and it's again, it's such a powerful, the show has so many powerful scenes in these flashbacks. It's like, not you two. I really thought you were the one person who looked past, attractive young woman, and actually saw a person there who wasn't just, and she just, that's just, no, she, and she runs off. It's the fact that they've known each other for a while, and she used to trust him. At that point, it's like, so this is what it was about all along. You were just waiting for a chance to get with me, and in reality, it wasn't that. It was just a moment of weakness but she's not, she's so frustrated by then that yeah. And Becky was at the morgue. She was run over by a cab, and Jack tells Chet the supposed witness was a con artist who'd done this kind of thing before. And there's 23 seconds of deleted scene. Danny says a guy partied with Eve for a couple of hours, and he was so wasted he doesn't remember anything, and Jack says he's not the guy. Yeah. Excuse me. But yeah, it's, I think the episode really does a great job of, like, bringing up the issues of the modeling industry, and just, it's not, there are a lot of movies and TV show episodes and on that explore how, yeah, genuinely ugly a lot of the modeling industry, and other industries that where, you know attractive women are, like, treated as a commodity basically. But I do think this does a good job of it. You know, I Yeah, just briefly, I watched the show. Let me think. Was it? I think I started watching it when it was relatively new. So I watched this episode, back in 2002, and might have been the first time I really saw something exploring that. But even if not, it really made an impression on me. And it's, see, this episode I would be able to talk about even if I hadn't been able to watch it recently. Excuse me. But excuse me. Yeah, it really, the yeah, does a really great job of the debating internally. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead. Yeah, I think from now on I'm gonna try to do it when I talk about the actual episode in, the time code. Yeah. Right. So the episode where, the kid finds out that he was adopted, it's one of those things where he felt like he's been lied to by his parents, and he feels like the yeah feels like he has to get back to his real father, or it just won't, you know yeah, it'll be too, what's it called, yeah, the he feels like his adoptive parents don't really love him. It's that, he feels like, I mean, basically the reason that he's decided that now's the freaking time to get to, sorry, I recently watched Kill Bill. The Right, that now is the time to see his birth father. He worries that he's in big trouble because he was involved when it's one of the show's contrived moments. I love the show, but there are contrived moments where he didn't technically himself knock down the Korean man running the what was it, like, crap, I forget what it's called, but yeah, you know but the guy did end up bleeding, and yeah, so he thinks, and he wants to run to where he's safe, where he's going to be loved and forgiven, where there'll be understanding. But he now thinks that his birth father would be more that for him than his adoptive parents, even though he's never met his birth father. Like, logically, it's the kind of thing where it should be like, well, if he put you up for adoption, maybe there was a reason, and maybe that reason hasn't changed. Maybe he can't take care of you, and it's yeah, it's I mean, ultimately, I'm not adopted, so I can't I can't pretend like I haven't lived it, but it is, yeah, it's, it's one of many things where we human beings just, where we have an instinctive response to, where it doesn't necessarily make sense, where, like, if we stop and think about it logically, no, it's, why, if his adoptive parents have taken care of him, how was he, like, 11 years old? Why would they stop caring now? But yeah, it is the kind of thing where the what's the, yeah, it's accurate in the episode that he thinks that way. Suspect. Oh right, I guess I didn't say at the start of the video, there are time codes for all the episodes. Let's see. Moby's One of These Mornings plays. Andy is peer pressured beer. The headmaster says he doesn't believe in being strict. Don't take your eyes off that guy. Jack tells Danny about the headmaster. The a lot of episodes, it's about figuring out who is, if it, did the person run, or were they taken or killed or something, and we spend the episode trying to figure out, the exact circumstance there, and only at the very ending do we know everything, where really in this, yeah, right from the start, it's, even if Jack didn't say that to Danny, that's basically the episode saying, yes, we know that it's extremely obvious that it's this guy. So basically, it's about, if, like, how do they get evidence, and, yeah. So Andy was about to give Phoebe the CD, holding some, or worse. When Jack said to Danny, "Don't take your eyes off him," he was being completely literal. Danny has been shadowing Spaulding ever since, and now Jack is going. Right. Yeah, Jack is going to be shadowing him while Danny and Martin look through the windows of his house. Danny finds a dark room and finds that the whimpering was a dog, which is, it's an understandable, like, they're looking for a missing kid. They suspect this guy and he hears whimpering. Yeah, and yeah, I think at this point they already know that there is a room in this house that doesn't have windows, and yeah, it sounds like, yeah, like they said, a holding cell or worse. And Danny realizes it's a dark room, and it's a very clever, because that's not the first thing you think of when you hear he has a room in his house that has no windows. That really does not sound, yeah. And then you realize, it's okay, so it's a dark room, it's not quite as bad, but he's been taking pictures of underage boys. Okay, maybe the video will turn out to be longer, right? I think I'm hitting my stride here. Yeah, taking pictures of the students, and somewhat voyeuristic. Great tension building as Danny refuses to leave, and he gets out without Spaulding spotting him. And Jack insists that they do everything by the book from now on, and he's worried that Spaulding is going to lawyer up. And they talk to the judge about the warrant. The warrant is denied. Danny has to go through Spaulding's trash because, as punishment, is I like, Jack. He's not going to kick you off the team, but if you screwed up, you're gonna, yeah, he's gonna let you know that you screwed up. Not necessarily verbally, but you're gonna feel that, yeah, going through Spaulding's trash might be really useful, but it doesn't need to be one of the main agents. It could be someone lower down on the, it's still a really unpleasant job, but yeah, like he's, the agents on the team have worked their way up. So yeah, except I guess Martin may have gotten favors by his father, but other than that. And Jack tries to get a useful reaction out of Spaulding about the photo album, but he claims it's not his. The other kid was taken advantage of by Spaulding. Let's see. And they find animal tranquilizer in his bathroom. And they realize Andy might be in a cave and the temperatures are below freezing. You're off the case. It's weird to hear such a cliche line played straight. Martin and Jack transport Spaulding, but they take a detour so that Jack can talk to Spaulding. And Jack offers to help Spaulding, and then let's see, be turned into a monster by the press. The thing with, they're worried he's going to get a lawyer, and they're frustrated that they can't use the photo album as evidence because the episode plays it, and then they take a detour so that Jack can talk to him, and it ends up they get the kid out, and he's still alive. So the episode basically plays it like a lot of these shows where the leads are like law enforcement. I would say this one is nowhere near as bad as some of the others, but yeah, it does act like sometimes the law and people's constitutional rights, they get in the way of good police work, of them solving the case. But yeah. Vivian tries to talk to the lawyer, wants to protect Jack. And they drive towards the caves, but then pull over, and they start playing the CD, and it's again Moby's One of These Mornings, and yeah, he talks about that's you wanted. What was it? You wanted something to remember him by, or you wanted him to remember you, something like that. And Jack finally gets Spaulding by promising him 15 minutes with Andy, which he of course does not give him, and he feels so bad after pretending to be, on the same page as Spaulding that he throws up after him. I'm not gonna lie. Once he says, you're not gonna get your 15 minutes. Obviously, you're not sitting there thinking, oh, but like worrying so much about if his rights have been violated. Not that that. Actually, I don't know. Is there a law against promising a suspect something that you don't give him? That I actually don't know about that. But yeah, at that point you do really, yeah. They don't actually show the kid there at the end. Is it because they didn't want to? I mean, of course it's annoying to have to set up like him being carted away, and maybe they would have to do like makeup to make him look like he's extremely cold. But I don't know, did they decide not to? Did they run out of time to shoot that? Did they not want to? I mean, if the actor is underage, I'm pretty sure there's like specific rules about how long you can work with them for how many hours of the day. Maybe they didn't want to get into that, or maybe they didn't have enough, times and days. He is in a bunch of flashbacks. And there's some deleted scenes on the DVD. Jack interrogates Spaulding and then talks to Vivian about how Spaulding really gave things away by body language and such, the way he answered questions. And the female lawyer tells Jack he has to return the photo album. Interesting to see this deleted scene. When I watched this episode years ago on TV, I assumed that was Jack's own idea. But here he actually tries to talk his way out of having to do it. And, he says, that's gonna tell Spaulding that they were in his house, and that's gonna, I remember distinctly sitting there watching it and be like, is he gonna fall for it? You kind of hope that, obviously they can't use, you know, the scene is in the episode where they say that you can't use it; it's inadmissible as evidence. So I always thought, but Jack's gonna try to get something out of it anyway, and like, yeah, like if Spaulding accepts it, then they have more kind of, and or maybe that Spaulding realizes that if he openly accepts it, that he has to pretend like it's not his. It shows that he has that much awareness of what's, yeah. Silent partner. Maybe he never intended to go to New York. Maybe he just wanted to look that way. 39 and a half hours missing already. And they have to treat it like a real case, even though it might not be, because he's the son of someone important. Vivian points out that Danny and Martin will get into conflict, and Jack says it's fine. The work isn't the hard part. Trying to do the right thing, that's the hard part. Immediately after Martin lands, Danny starts messing with him, but Martin gives as good as he gets. I really love the actor playing Catherine's father. And they point out it might be the angry investors went after Patrick. And as is common for the show, they make a really good point. You can understand why they're angry. Jack and Samantha argue, trying to figure out who is the person that's pushing them from above, since it can't be Catherine's father or her. 50 and a half hours missing. Patrick married a woman in San Diego 2 years ago and obviously spends time with her when he's in the San Diego office. And she wanted him to spend more time in San Diego, or she would want to move to New York, which would obviously reveal bigamy. And she says that someone someone was asking the whereabouts of Patrick. Her. Martin says he can't date two women for a month without blowing it, and then he says he knows women that can. Wait, he or Danny? Anyway. Catherine is shocked to hear about the bigamy. If my father did know, he would have told me. And Samantha and Jack have very different perspectives on Patrick and his bigamy. I forget, is this the episode where... Yeah, this is the episode where Samantha talks about her marriage. And the restaurant owning brother doesn't want Patrick to get in trouble, so he's reluctant to say about the talk they had a few days ago. And the inspector fits the description. He's got the airport. Vivian also has sympathy for Patrick, and Samantha talks about her marriage at 18, where she did get a divorce. And that's it. Yeah, Vivian says, "Wow, you really have a problem with this whole marriage thing." And yeah, Samantha says to Vivian, "It's called a divorce. Just get a divorce." And I think Vivian directly asked, "Have you ever been married?" Yes. What was it? Two fiery hot weeks followed by 4 icy months. And Vivian is like, at least you know how to commit or something like that. Which I've never been 100% sure if she's like being sarcastic or not. If she's saying, well, what, 2 weeks and 4 months, you call that commitment? Or if she's saying, wow, you really, you waited a full 4 months of just, icy cold before, yeah. Why was he having his son-in-law followed? They confront Mr. Shannon, his father. Jack confronts them and confirms the man. The questions was not Mr. Shannon, and she won't accept that Patrick was married in New York. Danny's really great with Robert. He missed some people when he was his age. There are a lot of fathers who are around all the time and still aren't there for their kids. And Patrick was trying to be a whistleblower. He was treated better than the one in Outlast, DLC. And Catherine has been lying to them all along, protecting, but from what? She's worried that her father had been killed. Even your own daughter thinks you're involved with Patrick's disappearance. And the guy in the green pickup was one of the 37 shareholders who live in San Diego. The moment that he's confronted by someone from the FBI, he turns around and is clearly about to try and get away. But there is one on either side of him. Mr. Arlington was the last person to see him and saw him go over the edge. I forget what this song is called that starts playing but it has the lyric, "I'm on the outside, I'm looking in." Maybe it's just called Outside. And yes, I did note that before it actually went, "I'm on the outside, I'm looking in." You know, by then it's pretty, yeah. And Jack and Dan realized Patrick had an escape plan. He didn't actually drown the car. He successfully started a new life since he was able to blow the whistle on his father, and that's part of why Mr. Arlington didn't come forward immediately, and saying that he saw him drown, it gave him more time to successfully get away from there. Because if he immediately said, this is like oh yeah, I saw him drown in this particular place, then they're looking there where, let's see. And yeah, so yeah, this episode, it's one of those things that the show will do where basically someone who seems innocent at the start will turn out later to be guilty, or vice versa. Make sure to put that in the review. There we go. Let's see, and yeah, when we first hear about the thing with the angry shareholders, at the time we don't necessarily have a lot of sympathy for Patrick, but then later we realize, and the whole bigamy thing, and then we realize he was a whistleblower, and like the only way is if he started a new life away from Catherine and her father. Excuse me. Snatch Back. And the actress who plays the mother, Judith from 2.5 Men. Maren Hinkle, if that's how I pronounce it. And Jack Martin thinks it's revenge for one of the cases of the mother. But, yeah, and I've always said, the actress playing Judith on, Maren Hinkle, she can play many other roles, and than that one, and I think she does a great job in this. I think she does a great job in Quarantine. And she did a full background check on Rosa the Nanny before hiring her. That man thought I knew exactly what he was talking about. He could have been talking about any one of 100 cases. And the husband kept looking at the ground while Angela kept eye contact, cried real tears. And Samantha disliked reporters because one went behind her back. And yeah, I can't tell what that says. And the other girl is talked to by a child psychiatrist, but she has trouble getting anything out of the girl. There probably are a lot of prisoners who have been put away and now their children are without parents, or at least one of the parents. Yeah. And 3 years ago, his father had an affair with a student. The student kind of crazy. And Elizabeth Banks plays Clarissa. It's actually kind of funny. I mean, I'm not going to say it's ironic because it is coincidence, but just yesterday I watched Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2 again with Elizabeth Banks. You know, it's the about 17, sorry, 14, 13 or 14 years between the two. It's strange to, like, you know, in this she plays like a college student, and you know, the actually, honestly, she probably could still have pulled off the, you know, Effie Trinket back then if she had to. They get a ransom call. They point out it's personal, and or maybe the kidnappers want them to think it's personal. Jack says they're going to be able to put the money together in unmarked bills. Felony possession. I could have plea bargained it down to a misdemeanor, but he was dealing near a school. Elizabeth Banks is an excellent actress. It really shows in this episode. And the other nanny thinks that Angela is a bad mother. And Rosa needed Angela's help with the INS. Yeah, the immigration. Sort of, yeah. So her mother won't be deported, but Angela said no, it would compromise her. And it's one of those things where, again, you can see it from both perspectives. You understand, obviously, you know, Rosa is you know, she really needs help with that. But Angela does feel like this is not something she could, yeah, it would compromise her. And Vivian points out immigrants work hard and don't tend to commit as many crimes as those born in the country. And Martin counters it would take her forever to make that much money on her own. It's you know, considering how toxic the environment is today about immigration, yeah, it's very apropos. Someone's declared an open war on working mothers. Nice work, Silvico. I grew up on Pacino. I don't have her. I never did. He called for ransom, but he doesn't have any connection to the kid. He just, or, you know, he just thought it would be easy money. And yeah, and the, you know, he's, and Jack tells him, you are without a doubt the biggest idiot I have ever met. And he's like, did I commit a crime? And it's, you know, extortion. What's it called? It's, you know, it's like hindering of a federal investigation, something like that. Mystery woman at the park was pushing a stroller, and they think it's, yeah, it's Clarissa. Maybe she took the wrong kid. She has the baby, and all she wants is to be a mother. Zoe took the miscarriage very hard, and Zoe took the 38. She could have gone over one of the bridges into a church, one of thousands, and they find Zoe and Abby, and Zoe sees through Martin's story. It was a perfectly decent attempt, but some people are just really eagle-eyed, and I mean, she knew that people were looking. It was on TV. And Vivian's going to appeal to Zoe mother to mother. Excellent tension. The very real threat of violence. Perhaps not to the child. Yeah, that would be going too far. But right in front of a child, whether it's a sniper, Zoe herself, or an agent. And Zoe shot herself in the chest. There are undoubtedly surrogate mothers, ones who give up, and ones who give up their baby for adoption, who end up regretting the decision, missing having a baby. And it does also make some great points about how Angela, it's I understand both sides of the argument, but it really is like asking a woman to only either have a family or have like a very demanding job really is, you know, it's both not having a family and not having like a job that you're really passionate about can really, wear on a person. It can really, these are things that we need to feel fulfilled in life. And but there are a lot of people who say, you can't have both. And just, yeah. Little Big Man. Now, yes, William Hope. Foster home goes missing after leaving his job late at night. I think they call him Radio because his mouth's always running. It's the Bronx, Jack. Bronx kids get shot for a lot less. It's true. Honestly, all it takes is someone feeling insulted. The foster father doesn't think the case will be taken seriously because of where it is and who it is. And we start learning about William's brother. Danny touches Radio's braids, knowing it will provoke him into an attack, so he can grab him, push him up against the wall. He does get the truth out of him, but it is a bit extreme, and Martin isn't necessarily against Danny's tactics, but he demands the next time Danny tell him beforehand. And yeah, their conflict is, heating up here. Let's see. Samantha and Vivian have to really push to get to talk to Tasha, Vivian's sister. And the bag that Tasha got from William is full of money. And I like Vivian's line, oh yeah, we were gonna get around to to calling the police on. And Vivian's like, yeah, I'm sure you just got bogged down in the paperwork of it. Just, yeah, clearly yeah. It's one thing that, they get greedy, they want to keep the money to themselves. That much money, it really sounds like drugs, and yeah, you've got to tell the police. so that they know that someone out there, you know, yeah, what it looks like at this point is that he was either dealing drugs or that he like intentionally, maybe not like alone, but like participated in like maybe a holdup of someone who they knew were dealing drugs or something. We find out later they found the money by accident. They didn't know, but at this point in the episode, that's what it sounds like. And yeah, considering that William is now missing, maybe the guy selling drugs caught up to him. So yeah, that's it. Just talk to him. If he's okay, you let him go. She's so used to people trying to hurt him. William just wants he and Tasha be at the same foster home. Clearly, she's being mistreated. I don't control the media. You don't control the horizontal, you don't control the vertical too. And they found Keith's car. I quite like the sugar. No, like confectioner's sugar, like the kind of baker uses. Like, you think, oh, sugar. I get what you're saying, like Coke or something. But no, like literally, I mean sugar, confectioner's sugar. Yeah. And radio says two brothers have been planning for months, and the kid in the morgue can't be William because the kid in the morgue did not bite his nails, so Tasha was covering for him. She pretended to identify her brother. So Keith was the one wearing the hat, and DMX plays as they rob the store, and Keith got shot on the way out. They got the money from the donut shop. It was drug money, but they didn't know there was gonna be drug money. And William assumed Keith's identity. William and Ellis are both missing, and they shoot Ellis in self-defense. William, goes down the stairs. Danny gets invited to spend the holidays. Very convenient that due to contraband, William was in army lockup, so the viewer wouldn't get a close look at his face, since Martin also doesn't, since he's only looking through like this thing from the outside, and the audience would be able to recognize William, even if Martin doesn't know what his face looks like, because we've seen all these flashbacks. It's a bit convenient. The show will sometimes do that, where like, well, this could have been solved in a lot less than 40 minutes, but you gotta get to 40 minutes. So, a witness doesn't tell the whole truth, or someone was hiding in a place that they checked, but it wasn't really. It's just, yeah. And that brings us to In Extremis. Now, this episode will not play for me off the DVD, but I'm going to talk about it from memory from years ago, and this is an episode I really remember. So, yeah. Anwar Samir, a doctor of Saudi Arabian descent, goes missing from the hospital where he works. There is speculation that he may be involved in terrorist activities, and Jack calls in help from a specialist squad. The team attempts to handle the case from a neutral perspective while balancing the young doctor's future career against the potential for terrorist action. And, among other things, this has the contrived thing where, like, someone heard him say, blow up that place, or something like that. And, we realize, I actually don't even remember if the agents realize, or if it's only the audience who see that flashback, but, when we see it from his perspective, what he was talking about was like a baseball stadium or something. He's like, they should blow it up and start, build a new one from the ground up. And it's like, do people say that in casual conversation, though? Do people just casually drop, like, they should blow, we should blow that place up or something. That's just, I don't know. I don't think I've ever heard someone just casually, yeah, it's, but it's a very compelling, you know, yeah, because of 9/11, people, he's even from Saudi Arabia, he's Middle Eastern, he's even from Saudi Arabia, which, most of the kidnappers were, and the or wait, is the kidnapper the hijackers? Sorry, the hijackers of the planes in 9/11. The yeah, so a lot of people they're like, I mean, he's such a nice guy, but I don't know. I mean, there's that thing, and yeah, the episode, there at the end, he's standing there with the gun in his hand, and like Martin is talking him down, and he's like, I'm worried they're going to shoot me. I don't want to hurt anyone, but yeah, and they do end up shooting him because I forget. I think it may be like he starts to like point the gun in the direction of Martin, or he like, or maybe like, if the sniper is right in front and like this is Martin and this is Samir, like he briefly leans out so that they can shoot him without shooting through Martin, and Martin immediately turns around. He's like, what, you know yeah, like really dramatically, and it's, if I recall, it's one of the episodes that ends with this sort of slow motion with a, what's it called, with what's the word, with um, with music playing, with dramatic music playing over it, and the yeah, I am afraid I don't remember all the details, but I thought it was quite well constructed. Although the thing with him saying blow up the building, I do find that to be contrived, but I found the ending to be very effective. It really, and I do especially, I really love that at the end of the day, this was someone innocent, so that there were a lot of you know a lot of movies and TV shows were very eager to pounce on Muslims after 9/11, and I really appreciate that this was one where, I mean, this wasn't that long after 9/11. The this show, it was the same. Yeah, so yeah, November 21st, 2002. So let's see, what's that? Yeah, so just over 1 year after 9/11, yeah, there were still a lot of tensions. That's, when I say it like that, it sounds like it's a real long time, but no, I mean, there are still people today who are like, Middle Eastern people must all be terrorists, even though the majority of actual terrorist attacks carried out in the U.S. or attempted in the U.S. are by right wingers, white right wingers. But yeah, it does a really great job of that, and I really like that he is innocent, and that the episode has him unfairly killed, because that is, I mean, I I'm not sure that law enforcement people have killed people who were innocent, but suspected of terrorism. But they did put a lot in Guantanamo Bay. But there has been a lot more violence towards Middle Eastern people since 9/11, even though the majority of them had nothing to do with it and don't, you know, yeah, weren't in favor of it. Now, let's see. Yeah, I think that's what I have for. I think also I like the casting. I think they did a good job of finding someone who you could. He has this very, what's it called? Like he comes off as likable and yeah, like I don't want to use the word charismatic because that is a word sometimes used about, like, I pretty sure I've heard the word charismatic used about Charles Manson. So you can't say he was charismatic, so he can't have been, a violent killer. But he seems like he's like easygoing and like, yeah, he likes baseball. He's not in any way interested in hurting Americans, or any violence of any kind. So you buy that he's been a doctor for a while without it. Like, if he came into the U.S. and looked like Bin Laden, for example, you know, the moment that 9/11 happened, he would have been one of the first people to be like, yeah, I guess maybe put in Guantanamo Bay, or I don't know. I mean, I guess that's a bit far to. Anyway, like, he would have been the target of hate crimes, very likely. But he is like, you feel like you could walk right up and talk to this guy. You, you know, I feel like I could, and I'm extremely shy. So, yeah, they did a really great job there. It's very important that he did not look like a terrorist. He didn't. That sounds so racist. I hope you understand how I mean it. But yeah, I have a lot of respect for any story filmed after 9/11 that has a that has sympathy for regular Muslims. Obviously not, no sympathy for the actual attackers, obviously, but for regular people who, yeah, they're Muslim. That doesn't mean that they have any interest. That's why they call it extremism, and radical, because it's not natural to Islam. It's not natural to Middle Easterners. That's why they call it radical Islam and Muslim extremists. Because it's like toxic masculinity. It doesn't mean that all masculinity is toxic. It means that in certain circumstances, and yeah, this episode, the movie X-Men 2, even if you don't like, if you can't, if you're in no way interested in comic book movies, if you watch one and you want a movie that is made after 9/11 and that has sympathy for regular people who are unfairly targeted because of terrorist attack. That movie does. I've done an entire video talking about, but excuse me, it is a brilliant piece of, like, it really, yeah, it would have been so easy for them to go against, because that was extremely popular. I mean, wasn't I haven't watched very much of 24, but wasn't that show entirely built around Muslims or terrorists or something? I feel like, or I don't know, maybe it was only one season, but like, I'm pretty sure that show capitalized on the fear of a lot of regular people wanted to see, tough, law enforcement people or even vigilantes taking out Muslims. They wanted that kind of release. And in that situation, it's extremely important to be the person who says, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to give these people what they want, because what they want is not healthy. It's not good. It's not even good for themselves. It's not good for innocent people who are, yeah. So, Midnight Sun. Let's see. Greg Pritchard and small daughter Kyla. Listen. School run. I like Jack and Vivian discussing at the start. Let me think. I gotta. Excuse me for a little bit. And let's see. When working at Greg's place, certain that he was having an affair since one kept showing up. Danny finds unexpected money in Greg's accounts. Before 1990, Greg Pritchard didn't exist, and Greg wanted to sell the store as a restaurant owner. There's no record of Greg Pritchard ever having attended Syracuse. There's no record of Greg Pritchard, anywhere before 1990. Too many loose ends. And Greg is in witness protection, and Alice is actually Denise, and she's his point person. And that, so when he said, stay away from my family, it wasn't, don't, our affair is over. It was, And Greg's wife is thinking about worst case scenarios. And Quince gave Greg the car. Danny bargains for information. Let's see. And we find out Greg wasn't the shooter, he was a witness, innocent bystander. Greg went to his mother. Greg's mother. What do we do now? Stare intently, apparently. And the wife is understandably surprised to hear that Greg's mother is still alive. The kid is really adorable. And Chuck had his own men dressed up as hitmen, hoping Greg would come beg for protection, but instead he ran, and now they don't know where he is. And he's headed to Alaska. And they bring Greg out, and then the sniper takes him out, but then we see, they faked Greg's assassination to put him back in witness protection, keep him safe. So early in the episode, we think that the reason that he is so determined to live a good life is that he used to be a criminal, and he's trying to make amends, trying to redeem himself. By the end of the episode, we realize the reason he's so determined to live a good life is that he realizes how quickly life can end, and he knows he himself might not live much longer. And there's deleted scenes, 1 minute and 25 seconds. Danny talks to the Russian some more. Vivian talks to Sarah, reassures her Greg was only trying to protect them. And it's a meeting again in the FBI offices, and he apologizes. I think, I'm just briefly going to note for the review that on rewatch, mystery holds up. It really, it's frustrating when you watch, like, a mystery with, like, and once you've watched the entire thing, you realize that some of it, it's fine to have misdirection, red herrings and such, but, yeah, when you think back to it, there shouldn't be something that just doesn't make sense. You know, where it's just like, well, okay, so now I know everything that did happen. Well, why was there that? Because that doesn't go along with the rest of it. And, you know, that brings us all the way to Maple Street, which I hear is where the monsters live. And maybe at least 2 episodes, and at least one of the. Let's see, was it? I don't think it was the Outer Limits. I think it was Twilight Zone. But I found out last time that I accidentally mixed up the two shows. That despite how similar the two shows are, you know, it's not like I'm comparing like Outer Limits to Little House on the Prairie or something. Despite how similar the two shows are, some fans of the two shows flip out if you accidentally mix them up. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that the the Outer Limits, that's the one with Rod Serling, right? And the other one, the Twilight Zone is where it opens and then it says we're in control of your TV, right? I really hope that completely set off some people. That's if that sets you off, I can't. Yeah, I can't not. It's just too much fun to screw with you. Yes, I realize that. Obviously, Rod Serling is Twilight Zone. Obviously, the Outer Limits is the one with the we control the transmission. We'll take you from the to the outer limits. You know, it's pretty memorable that part. But I've watched episodes of both shows, and yeah, I'm sorry. There are episodes of one show that could easily be on the other. You know, they're both like sci-fi horror mystery stuff. You know, not always more than one of those, but yeah. How many YouTube videos did the writers have to watch to get 100% accurate what tween and teen girl videos on YouTube look like? I've never sat down and watched them, obviously, but like every so often there'll be an ad or or someone will there'll be a news story about but yeah. See, that's the thing. Like, did the writers, did they have to like explain, like, did they get put on a list for being like adult white guys looking at a lot of videos of tween girls on YouTube? I don't know. Oh wait, sorry, 2002. YouTube's from like 2006 and on, isn't it? Whoops. Anyway, the yeah, they what I'm saying is they know exactly what those kinds of videos look like. They did a really good job on it. You see some footage from Annie's camera. Aaliyah Shawkat plays Siobhan, I want to say, is the name. I think this might be the only thing I've seen her in. I realize every time I look up Alias on IMDb, as I type it, Aaliyah Shawkat always comes up. And like I think by the time I get to the S in Alias, then Alias I think Alias might then be the top pick. But until then it's Aaliyah Shawkat that stays the yeah, or is by the time I've typed in Ali or something. And again, the video picks up Annie and smacks her butt. So Uncle Derek is the one who gave Annie the camera. They do such a good job because yeah. I'm sorry. Obviously, we think a character in the episode. I think maybe Javon's father outright says someone his age should not be spending that much time with teenage girls. You do automatically make that connection in your head. And then when, the thing with, the him smacking her butt, we realized, I don't think, they don't ever actually just say it, but once you realize he's gay, he literally doesn't think of her in that way. It didn't even occur to him that would be read sexually. And him giving her the camera, again, like it's why is he paying so much attention to like teen girls, and does he maybe want to film her in certain situations, and if he gives it to her, maybe she'll be more okay with that. But yeah, by the end you realize no, he didn't think that it would be read that way because he doesn't think that way. So let's sorry. Brave of Poppy Montgomery, who plays Samantha, to appear on camera with I, I'm not entirely sure if it's without makeup or with very little makeup, but clearly, and it's supposed to be. It's that, what was it like? She slept there all night and didn't, something like that. But yeah, maybe I'll get to know her and it won't make any difference. It's very hard on Samantha to watch all the videos. They mention a Mr. Steamy Four Eyes, and Siobhan disappears as well, and we now have separate counts for the different girls for how many hours they've been missing. And yeah. Siobhan's father suddenly thinks there's something strange about Derek Trainer. It's just unnatural for a man his age to spend so much time with two teenage girls. And her starts to suspect Derek because of the laundry, and Annie's found some strangulated. And Martin threatens the mayor, walking him past TV cameras in handcuffs if he doesn't tell the truth. The mayor and Derek are together, and they don't want anyone to know. Sounds a lot like Gonzalez is the guy. A friendship bracelet in Gonzalez's locker. Excuse me. They pressure Gonzalez, but he doesn't admit anything, and then they believe it's Mr. Brandini due to the video. They follow Brandini, and they shoot him in self-defense, and Siobhan doesn't yet know that Annie is already dead, and Samantha shows Carol the video of Annie telling her that she loves her, and again, it gets to me. It's yeah, and I think they did a really good job. Like, it's one of those things where, yeah, a teenage girl isn't going to like frequently make sure to make an effort to tell her mother I love you. But if they're recording all these videos, yeah, Siobhan is gonna put the camera on her and say, "Who?" I think, yeah, "Who do you love?" or something like that, and she's gonna list it because that is a teenage girl thing to do. And then she addresses her mother on camera, and then right after she's like, she like, I don't know what the word is, like pulls a face, or however you want, because it's awkward for her to do that, but she does very clearly mean it, and it's excellent acting from both of the actors. I mean, I'm I don't think I remember there being bad acting on the show except Rosalind Sanchez, I think is her name, but I'll get to her. I legitimately don't, and I think I stopped watching not long after Rosalind Sanchez. Yeah, the the girl is actually, that's I want to say her name is Casey Poe from 5 years earlier in Con Air. So I've seen her before, and yeah, I mean she looks like herself. So yeah, and she does great acting in that as well. Underground Railroad. Yeah, this is gonna be a pretty short video by my standards. Let's see. Yeah, I'm just briefly gonna. Yeah, Kathy Dobson, 8.5 months pregnant, goes missing. Unaware she has preeclampsia, conditions that could be life-threatening to both her and the baby. And yeah, if she doesn't deliver in the next 24 hours, it could be fatal for her and her child. that's arguably in bad taste. They didn't need to endanger a fetus. You know, I am pro-choice, but that's not the same thing as saying that I'm okay with, like, yeah, you know, I mean, if she did have an abortion at this, you know, I would be completely against her having an abortion that late. You know, yeah, this is it's an you know it's an what's the term, independent life form. Like at that point, you know, the once the fetus can survive outside of the womb, then it is killing something. But you know, it's not an abortion. It's sorry, abortion is not murder if it happens before then. And I can't think of a single pro-choice person that has any kind of like prominence or following that has ever said that you should be able to abort a child once it's viable outside of the womb. So it's it's so frustrating when pro-lifers make that claim when it's so obviously a lie. I don't I wouldn't be so bothered by it if it didn't have such a negative effect on lives. You know, abortion doctors have been murdered by people who have the mistaken idea that abortion is murder. It's by definition not murder. There's a definition of when it is, and yeah, viable outside the, an actual life form. Don't get me started on the heartbeat bills. Anyway, yeah, I really don't think that it wasn't necessary for them to have they could have just had, she's probably going to deliver very soon. So it's important that, at the at the start, they think that she might have been kidnapped, and if the kidnapper does not, let her see a doctor and she delivers, that could have, there could be problems there. They didn't have to make it fatal, potentially fatal. Sorry, by the end of the episode, she does. They find her, and yeah. If Martin hadn't added "and a partridge in a pear tree," I would have. So I'd can the attitude if I were you. Maybe you found out the kid isn't. Let's see. There's nothing to indicate that, but I thank you for your imagination. That's why I get paid the medium bucks. Is it necessary to narrate? I'm sorry, I didn't realize you can't listen and think at the same time. That's pretty big for someone who can't think without talking. And we're told over the last 3 years, the pregnant woman hasn't spent very much time with friends. You ever driven a black car? Well, yeah, in my life, of course. In the last couple of days. I mean, in his defense, you could have, you could have specified that before, yeah. I'm sorry, but that's seriously, is he, supposed to go back in his mind over every single time he's driven a black car at some point in his life? She's having his baby. What a wonderful way to show him he loves her. Wait, she loves him. There. God, that song is utterly, I know the dude meant well, but wow, that is really, what a way to make it entirely about yourself, dude. Excuse me. She leaves the hospital an hour after her husband left, possibly being forced with a gun. And he openly says he wants to kill the guy who took her. And he hit Richie to the point where he bleeds. They did a really good job. Up to that point, it really seemed like he was you didn't get the sense that he was abusive towards, and I mean, I guess, let's see, I mean, he's used to keeping it hidden from other people. It's, he's careful about hitting her in places where other people can't see. She says, never the face. He's too smart for that. So, yeah, early in the episode, he's keeping it, under control. But then, as things, as it gets more tense, he does end up, yeah, he hits, was his brother, I want to say it is, and yeah, hits him to the point where he bleeds and hits him in the face. So it is now, yeah. And she asked if a divorce would mean he doesn't get any custody because, if he's gonna hit her, he might hit the baby as well. And yeah, he's physically abusive towards her, including burning her with a cigarette. And he hits her in the back and the sides, never in the face. He's too smart for that. And Danny goes into an apartment, and yeah, signs of forced entry and knocked out on the floor. 2 weeks before D-Day. And they're making fake passports in the back of the TV shop, and the black woman says she doesn't want to go back to her husband. And they realize Dr. Feldman must be part of the network, but he refuses to talk. And Viv talks Jack out of surveillance of the house, and he gives her 2 hours. And she poses as a battered woman who leads the network, claims that her husband cost her the baby she was pregnant with, which that's also borderline, bad taste. Yeah. Feeling badly. With an F20 grammar. Who are you? You're not scared and you're way too curious. Who the hell are you? And the network woman thinks that Vivian must be a PI. And Kathy told Miss Posey and gave her an address, but the husband took it. We are a lot stronger than one person. In the grand scheme of things, I am expendable. Hail Hydra. And Jack believes that Mr. Posey is hitting Mrs. Posey. And the network woman does take Vivian to Kathy. And comes to the house and breaks in. I don't feel so with Mr. Stark. And Viv covers the network woman. Jack seems to know that's what's going on, but he's fine with it. Which is again like a nice, yeah, basically, let's see if I recall. Vivian says, that the network woman, she claims, oh, this is, a local cop, and she helped out with the case. If that's true, then there's, they don't have to do any, like, I guess at most, like, a debriefing or something, but it's, if that isn't what she is, then it's like, well, what was she doing here, and how is she involved in the disappearance, and the network is against the law. And that's, I thought this was a really great, because that is like a lot of women, if they go to the cops, they're not taken seriously, and they don't they don't really have a way to get out of the situation in a way that is, safe. And that's, she considers a divorce, but she's told, well, the husband will have partial custody. Maybe if he can't hit the hit his ex, by then ex-wife, maybe he'll hit the baby instead. And another thing is, obviously, if she wants to, like, straight up move to another place, if he still has custody, the cops will help him track her down. Let's see. And Miss Mosey gives details about Richie, and Joan won't give up info. Sorry, a minute and 2 seconds of deleted scenes on the DVD. Miss Mosey gives details about Richie. Joan won't give up info. She believes so much in the network. The reason I specify that it's DVD special features is because I don't expect everyone, my father is a very giving person, and when I told him that I wanted the entire, all 7 seasons of Without a Trace, the TV show, was it birthday or was it Christmas present? I forget, but yeah. I don't expect everyone to have the DVDs of these, but you know, a lot of people. I don't use Netflix, so I don't know. But I could imagine that the show is maybe on Netflix, or I don't know. I guess. I mean, it's got over 100 episodes, so there's some chance that it's on. I don't remember what the word is, but like being repeated, you know, being shown again even after a lot of years on TV. Okay. Hang On to Me, and yeah, Chet Collins comes back, and this time Chet is the one who disappears, and Jack is certain that the ATM withdrawals are not about drugs, and Vivian points out that usually Chet leads them, so vigilantism is unlikely, brings leads to them, so vigilantism is unlikely. Talk to the guy who fired Chet. He feels that Helen being with Alex means that she no longer cares about their son being missing, and tells Helen to go to hell, which reminds me of Death Becomes Her with Mad and Hell, the nicknames. Yeah. That night, there was a look in his eyes that I've never seen before. Complete emptiness. Jack and Vivian talk to the private investigator. The guy goes Tarantino on me. I watched this episode on the 14th, so the day before I watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So that's interesting timing. You know, every so often when I watch, you know, I don't plan for these to coincide, but every so often it happens. I guess some people would say it's fate. Vivian presses Jack for the truth. Jack tells Vivian about the last time he saw Chet. They find shot and seems like might have been Chet. Tyson Gibbs, is that his name? That's what it voice typed. Chet is not calling us because he doesn't think we'll help, and that is my mistake. And Chet called Kelly and told her that he can bring Sean home, but not to tell anyone that he called. That is some shady adoption practice. Chet must think Austin is his son. Yeah, but he's not. He was alive when I left. Killed him, I tell you, something like that. Vivian tells Jack it wasn't Chet's gun that killed Tyson, but she and Jack aren't sure. He wants to let Chet go yet. And Chet ripped the wire. And Martin and all the other agents are hiding as civilians, except when I voice typed that, I wasn't sure I saw Samantha, but I'm pretty sure she is there. And Chet grabs him to get answers. Those hands that were around your neck, they're going to be there again, I promise. And we're not going to be there to stop. And Chet meeting Garrett is just heartbreaking. I don't. It just, yeah, is. Sometimes the show really gets to me at least. And there's some deleted scenes, but they won't play for me. The Friendly Skies. And yeah, blood and stalking in the front seat. Until a body is found, Linda Schmidt is ours. The blood in the car is hers. And Jack listens to pet peeves off her profile the dating website and gets an idea to look for a shrink. They find him. I mean, back when this episode aired, dating websites were way more rare than like today. Like there are countless dating websites. Yes, for some reason, no one has been able to count them, and like everyone is on. Yeah. Let's see. And Jack finds a way to ask the shrink about details. It's that thing where like technically the shrink is not allowed to say anything he finds. I'll ask, and yeah. With short dark hair, Samantha has a little bit of an Evangeline Lilly thing going on, which for some reason the voice typing, it got her name spelled correctly, but it put a hyphen between her first name and her last name. So I don't, yeah, anyway. Samantha does a very good job playing nervous. She's really, really good at playing someone else when like Vivian was caught by, well, I suppose the network lady was also, she's used to making sure that people are who they say they are. And Richard says it's been platinum, and he drops in a roofie, and they immediately grab him, but turns out not to be him. If a patient confesses to a crime, I only have a duty to report if I believe he will harm somebody else. I didn't know if he would. Copycat. So the female shrink Dr. Morrison was the one who accused Linda of seeing her husband, and they used divide and conquer. And Martin and Samantha realized Linda was never at the Eon that night. This episode really shows how good Samantha is at playing characters. And I do specify Samantha, not Poppy Montgomery, the actress. And they break the wife by pretending that he did sleep with someone else, appealing to how jealous she gets. And if I recall, they also say, like, what's the word? Yeah, they tell her that that her husband framed her, and if she doesn't say something to incriminate him, she's gonna be punished and he's gonna walk, when clearly they did it. He is involved and they need her to say how. That's another thing. Is that legal? Let me just note to put in the review notes. They will lie to separated. What's it called? When someone, I don't actually expect someone to respond to this. I'm just thinking out loud to avoid dead air. Let's see. It's when someone is in cahoots with someone else. I guess just, yeah. Rated people in cahoots. By golly, if they're in cahoots with each other, excuse me. And Patty tells them the conversation with Aaron right after he killed Linda. And Aaron starts saying, "It wasn't me," over and over, like he's Shaggy or something. You understand we should take that show on the road. Really, yeah. Now, in this episode, I wasn't sure if Samantha was lying to get out of going with Martin, or if she really was asking for a rain check, but then in a later episode, she does ask for, yeah. Let's see. There Goes the Bride. I forget, is that also the name of the song? Or isn't that Here Comes the Bride? I'm not entirely sure. Now, again, this episode will not play for me. I'll try to see if I can remember. Audrey Rose, Sunny Bride is very strong. wedding reception, the two find she may not be as innocent as she seems. With tainted past involving drugs that her husband may or may not know about. Women planner. Phone call. Blackmail plot. Yeah, I'm sorry, I do not remember this episode. Again, like, it hasn't been 17 years, or rather, I'm not certain it's been 17 years since I last watched this episode. Or wait, and yeah, whatever. That many years, or if I have watched it sometime since then, but I mean, I can only remember so much. I've watched a lot of TV shows. Clare de Lune. Lune? Claire de Lune? I'm not sure. And yeah, Amber Tamplin. It's again, I'm sorry, but I have to bring this up. In this, her character is in a psychiatric institution. When in the ring, her friend ends up in. Yeah. Let's see. And went home after the police and bring him back. Yeah, the opening credits confirm that is indeed Amber Tamplin. The menu for every single disc on season 1 has the part where she's like banging on the door of the timeout room and screaming, and then like the shot of her photo going up on the whiteboard. And yeah, so it's the yeah, they realized that that was a fairly memorable visual there. She's a teenager. Of course there's irregular activity. Either you let her out or you know who did it. Or saw who did it, sorry. She did not use her spidey powers to crawl through the vent in the ceiling. Did she have a boyfriend? Maybe she did it to Spider-Man. Yes, that is an excellent track. You can bite me. Let's see. No, you can't literally bite me because you're watching me on a monitor. But if we were in person, I'd probably prefer you didn't. But it's you know it's that's the phrase that you use. Obviously, things around here don't stay locked up for too long because the ring is gone. Someone took it, probably the same person who let her out of the timeout room. Excellent acting. The patients are very convincing. And Martin talks to Lincoln, the boyfriend. Amber Tamplin really has range. She, like, just in this episode, like, she seems so happy and well adjusted with the boyfriend, but then really freaked out by other things. Yeah. You know, I mean, she makes you believe that this is still all the same one person. And Danny finds pajamas from the mental institution loft. Something happened in that loft. Opened the door to repressed memories. She wasn't alone, she had somebody picking her up. And Claire was convinced that the woman living in her old house would get hurt. And Claire thought that she did see her father kill one of the workers. Polygraph Lawrence. And Claire is certain that the man who was pushed is dead, and she sees her mother there instead. Danny keeps looking at the pictures she drew, and we realize Claire pushed her mother. She didn't mean for her to get badly hurt. It was just like, leave me alone, get away from me kind of thing. Let's see. And Danny goes and talks to Claire, and she still has the knife. And Danny blames himself for his parents' death, and yeah, you know, it's I think the show does really well. Did I already say that in this video? I probably did. I like when the show has one of the agents relate very directly to, excuse me, one of the, yeah, a character in, a person involved in the missing person's case, whether it's the missing person themselves or someone else. But yeah, Danny's story. That's yeah, that's something that happens. The you know the parents will be arguing in front of the car. A kid in the back of the car will speak up, and the person behind the wheel will turn to face them, and yeah, Amber Tamblyn is such an amazing actress. She goes through a lot of different moods in this episode, in The Ring, and the actor playing Danny does great acting as well in this episode and in the other episodes. Let's see. I even watched for her some of the Joan of Arcadia, isn't that what it was called? Because she does such great acting, and she's really likable when she plays this, like, slightly awkward teenage high school student. Just, yeah. I'll admit I did enjoy the core setup of that show somewhat. Yeah. Excuse me. Kam Li. I think that's how they pronounced it. Again, it's been some days. I watch an episode a day, so. And yeah, so John Bull Carver recently retired. His army officer disappears from a dinner. His medals are still in his room, and his service pistol is missing. Ernie Hudson gets to be on screen when his credit is in the opening credits, so that's neat. Man, that guy's a really snarky drunk. It's no wonder that, yeah, that he ended up angry with you. Well, it's not like he became a sculptor. And she was the one he called escort girl. Excuse the mess. I wasn't expecting company. The maid's been here. And while he shot himself, and the patrolman goes up and checks for life signs, and he's like, he's dead, Sam. And we meet Martin's. Or, no, yeah, sorry. This is the first time we meet Martin's father. And it's clearly frustrating for both Martin and Jack. In the earlier episode, when Martin said some fathers are around, but they're still not good. They're still not a good father to the kid. He was obviously referring to his own father. He didn't even wait for me to say yes, sir. He never does. So the congressman did not tell them everything, according to Junior. And Jack thinks it was friendly fire at Kam Li. Wow, that's what it thought. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I guess Kam Li. Yeah, anyway. I like all the colors, and I like turtles. Good catch between Jack saying, "You want to tell me about Kam Li," and then, yeah, and then it plays like, and, sorry, yeah, like answering Vivian asking the same question. Sounds like Bull killed Tommy Lewis, yeah. Phil Lamar, I like him. Sykes did lie about the weapons cache, yeah, because he idolized Bull. Sykes and Ernie Hudson confront Bull hotel room. And Jack tells Vivian it was suicide, even though he knows it was murder, because he doesn't want them to have to, he sympathizes with, yeah, I mean, in some of the flashbacks, it didn't necessarily seem that way, but yeah, I mean, he was a monster. He got, he killed just so he could get away with raping. So yeah. And Jack mentions he really respects that in the military, soldiers willing to die for the man next to him. Something I find is conveyed very, very well in The Lord of the Rings. Oops. The source. Yeah, so this is when Delia Rivers, investigative television journalist reporter, goes missing. Point out that if it's really Catan, then he's really asking to be found. I quite like the characterization of Freddy. That is one lawyer-like lawyer. I like that later we realize there is more to him than that, and it's just, yeah. Excuse me. We meet Jack's kids, and we're told someone threatened Jack's family. They determine that the lawyer is Delia's source, and Jack tries to push him into testifying, plant a bug in the club, and they piece together a message from the messages left by Delia. That really is like yeah, it was very impressive, and it was believable. All the words were there. All they did was, cut and paste to make sure that they ended up with, yeah. And yeah, they have, was it like Freddie Catan? This is Delia Rivers. The FBI know everything. Just yeah, that was. Who the hell is Hilary Duff? Ironically, as I sit and watch this, watch the episode and make this video today, I'm not sure Hilary Duff is a big deal anymore. But I guess I wouldn't know. I don't pay attention to, yeah. I don't know, I guess it's coincidental more than, Diego said he killed her. Maybe you should have gotten confirmation before you shot Diego. And Freddy starts threatening Summers. And Jack tells Winston that he's being released. I thought that was a really great moment. You really did feel for him. So victory for humanity. Josh Abrams, the dedicated and idealistic teacher, goes missing. I never heard of them. What do they make? Money. And there's complaints about the stairs. Right, yeah. So Samantha, like Martin, complains about why they have to go up and down all those stairs. Martin and Danny don't yet know you cannot trust Henry. I wouldn't touch anything. That's a working plasma laser. I knew that. And Abrams tried to get the student out of dealing. You know something and you wouldn't be running. And they push Mr. Jackson and he talks. And Samantha confirms she was named after the Maltese Falcon Bogart character. I quite like. You don't, when you first hear that, you don't immediately think, oh, so that girl must be like a femme fatale, or femme fatale, if you want to go for the correct French pronunciation. But yeah, it sets up that kind of, yeah, it's a, what's the word? Crap, what's the word? Yeah, it's later Samantha realizes she is like a femme fatale. She's a fan of those kinds of things, so she has. It's yeah, it's a really good example. It's one of those things where media can affect your perception of things, how your value system. Playing a violent video game isn't going to make you go out and get violent with someone, but if you watch a lot of noir movies and see a lot of femme fatales, you might be more inclined to yourself, you know, yeah, like that's one thing that like the like yeah, you and also come up with she gets inspiration also from them, ideas from them. Why did he hit you? Because I was there and he was drunk. Makes it sound like your dad had something to do with Abram's disappearance. And yeah, there's something about Josh tells someone he's in love with a student. I just can't get her out of my mind. Her love is all I think about. And we find the spy pictures of Josh with Terry. And yeah, I think it's the reason his father hit Terry was like about Josh and Terry. And Vivian thinks Josh and Terry ran off together. I don't think it's that hard. That's what she said. Look, I'm not the world's best father. You're going to have to ignore what it says on my coffee mug. And they question the principal again. Sit down. Sit down. Sit. Good boy. And that's the one who hit Terry over the pictures. And let's see. Terry calls Cal. And Josh was in the bed, knocked out but alive. And Terry was the one in Josh's room when Carmen came a knocking. And they figure they won't be able to find Terry since the Canadian border is so wide. Or broad, whatever the word is. And yeah, Samantha talked about her having run away at age 16. Let's see. Yeah, it's she got the idea that to trick a man into trusting her and then getting a lot of money out of it and then running off and yeah, it's the kind of thing that yeah, she wanted out of a bad situation, and she saw that in those movies that's how women got out of bad situations. Excuse me. No mas. Let's see. Dante Jones, the young boxer. Vivian defends the boxer. Careful, boy. I brought you into this world. I can take you out. And Dante was furious to see Andre bring his drug connection. I really love Danny and Samantha acting that's like the guy is on a game show. What are you inferring? Okay, this guy obviously means imply. I know some viewers would put up with that kind of thing, but frankly, I can't imagine why. And the guy shot at Danny. So he bought a house in the suburbs after growing up in the Bronx. And the benefits are what? Wearing satin shorts to work? Where there's blood, there's a body. And if he bled, it could kill him. Is that all you got? Do not mess with black girls from the Bronx. They have attitude. And Dante paid off the bookie, demanding not take bets, but he did still take bets from Andre. And they find Andre's body. With 2 kids, you try to love them the same, but you can't. And Christina's mother is very surprised to hear that Andre had, was it 300,000? Confront Ron. And Danny confronts Mikey, who shot at him. And Danny gets Michael to shake Jack's hand and hand him, you know, what is supposed to be like a statement, and suddenly Chris gets really talkative. And 2 of the leads talk to her, and Marissa explains everything. I can't believe this is happening to me. How could it? And Andre's mother killed him to protect Dante. And Dante, of course, heard the shot and realized his mother killed Andre. And Dante. Let's see. And they're deleted scenes, but they don't play for me. But yeah, really, really great episode, you know, about how difficult it is to get out of the class you've been born into, and how hard it can be to be the brother of someone who is making it out. Are you now, or have you ever been? And this episode also does not play for me, but yeah, I remember some of it. Let's see, it's the thing about, yeah, Spaulding. And the FBI conducted internal reviews in their own cases. Right, and yeah, this you know, investigation threatens to expose the secret of Sam and Jack's past relationship. And let's see. Yeah, and it's about Jack. I'm afraid I don't remember. I vaguely remember that, you know, Spaulding is still very, very creepy. Yeah, you know, they do a good job of still, yeah, you know, when this episode starts, we know what he's done. You know, last time, you know, by the time we knew what he had done, the episode was almost over. Fallout Part 1. And I'm gonna, let's see, yeah, and you know, dealing, of course, with fallout from 9/11. Very tense when she goes in with the ransom money. She's doing good, and doing well is doing good. And the drop doesn't go as planned. The bag drop and bag pickup were too obvious to others. I think they did a pretty good job of the, you know, basically Barry is not very used to this kind of situation. So yeah, it doesn't, you know, I mean, for one thing, he should probably have picked a bigger store so that where the bag is dropped and where he picks it up is less obvious to people, because everybody sees her drop the bag and leave without the bag, and then him go and pick it up. So basically, you know, you've got like 3 people who are like, dude, you're stealing her bag. You know, they don't know that it's, you know, Samantha says in the episode after this, oh, Libby's the most likely to panic. I guess, but she did a really great job covering. Like you know, the clerk is like, I, miss, you forgot your bag, and it's like, you know, you as the viewer is like, oh no, what's gonna happen? And Libby is like, I just gotta go feed the meter. I'll be right back. You know, just that's a really good cover. Like if she had just like panicked and started to run, or something, you know, yeah, just. And yeah, it's very clear this is the end of the season, and they're gonna go bigger. And Samantha, you know, quickly hides her gun in the, you know, in between the two. Is it bookcases? I'm not entirely sure, but yeah. And you know, the certainly, you know what, I'm sorry, I agree with Barry. I'm gonna call him the idiot or Dick because he really screwed up. Yeah, the middle-aged white guy, he sees where she puts the gun, and then later, you know, yeah, he knows that she must be, you know, a cop or FBI or something. If I want you to do something, I'll tell you about it, okay? Dude, don't be mean. He's just showing initiative. Sorry. And they close the blinds. I get that, you know, closing the blinds also covers the windows, and you know, evidently Barry didn't think of that. Honestly, when he told them to move the bookcases, I thought it was so that they wouldn't try to shoot in there at all, because if there are bookcases, they can't. I don't know. I think I thought that when I watched on TV as well. But anyway, she couldn't place him, and it really bothers him. Why don't you just answer the phone? Man, this guy is absolutely full of ideas, and it is probably not a very good idea for him to share them all. And 9/11 changed everything. We don't see Sam doing something specific out in the bathroom, and I think I thought this when I watched it on TV as well. I guess we'll see a little later that she did something specific in there and what she did, but I guess she didn't. She just took the time to come up, but she doesn't even really do anything. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that scene doesn't really lead to anything, I guess. Everybody but Barry introduces themselves to Sam. And I like Barry being kind of sarcastic, and like sometimes people, some of the other characters will be like, well, I lost someone on 9/11 too, and you're hoping, oh, this will really calm down, but then he'll be like, well, the thing that's he'll get angry because he can't see, like, basically he feels like if he can't have his wife back, then nothing matters. And yeah, his wife is not coming back, and basically he just wants Sydney to pay. He wants her to feel as bad as he does, and yeah, I thought they did a really good job of, like, this could very easily be like, well, he's lost someone. Maybe if somebody else says I lost someone too, he'll put down the gun. But no, and the actor does a great job. You buy him, like, you have that one flashback where he's basically happy, and you have, yeah, just they do a really great job. And Jack and her discuss whether Jack or Drummond should handle the negotiation. And Harry claims to have a partner, and he's talking to Jack on the phone. let's just say there's more than 10, no more than 3 and less than 10. So Barry moonlights as one of those annoying math teachers who come up with annoying math problems. And Danny realizes Barry's house was foreclosed on, and Vivian goes to talk to the mother-in-law. And Kyle doesn't want to leave without his mother. Again, really, really heart-wrenching. And Barry agrees to let the mother go as well, and Sam grabs the water. Sam has done a really good job of reading Barry and like playing into the kind of person he is, so that Barry sort of expresses sympathy for her, sympathy with her, and lowers his guard around her. The thing with like oh, I'm sorry, I just had to go to the bathroom. And please stop apologizing. It makes me oh sorry. She gets like she comes off as really scared, but in the sort of way where like Barry's angry about some of the other people being scared. Sam hits the right balance. Let's see. And yeah, the idiot clearly wants Samantha to grab her gun, or maybe he's thinking I should, and yeah, one or both of those things. And Samantha tells Barry she was a nurse at 9/11, and some of the other hostages relate their stories of 9/11, and the idiot like sends a look at Samantha when she lies about being a nurse. He knows she must be in law enforcement, and Barry blames Sydney for overworking Nicole. Barry blames Sydney for Nicole showing up to work so early that she was in the Twin Towers, since Sydney was the one who said she had to come in that early. Barry tells Samantha to answer the phone, and she speaks some in code over the phone, and the idiot goes for the gun, but Barry realizes, and there's a struggle, and several shots are fired during it, and the episode ends on the receiver hanging off, and Jack calling for Samantha, who, there's a strong implication that she was shot there. Now, the final disc comes with 2 DVD extras, a 15-minute one and a 10-minute one. And I'm gonna go over both here before I move on to the next episode. So the first one is called Motive, 15 minutes, and they point out person goes missing at the start. At the start of the episode, it started off as a blank slate. You don't know if you don't know about them, and over the course of an episode, the FBI agents go looking for him, and ends up talking to people, and then looking at financial and phone records. Let's see. And the mystery about the persons who want to cover different things, inevitably the reason that they're missing is somehow related to some secret that they have in life. So from that template, we're able to tell emotionally and psychologically complex stories, but also have a thriller element to them. Just briefly. Did I already do that? I'm not sure if I did that. Season 1, extras, review notes. There. So, and the actor playing Martin points out that although the show doesn't go into their homes, it does go into who the agents are as characters. And they cast Jack at the very start and helped everything else fall into place. And they had trouble casting Samantha Spade. And Poppy Montgomery was playing Marilyn Monroe before, and had to tell them, "Don't worry, I'm getting rid of the platinum blonde hair." They were like, that's we can't. And yeah, I'm quite glad they Marilyn Monroe could pull off platinum blonde hair, but I would not like to see Samantha Spade in platinum blonde hair. I knew that the actress playing Vivian had a British accent, but it still took me by surprise to hear her interview here. Now, let's see. And right, and the actor playing Danny talks about that. He really loved playing. You know, he had the scene with Amber Tamblyn, and he was like, after she was in an episode here, she got her own show on CBS. And let me think if I can recall what he said. I love working with that. Not stars or egos, but talent. And the other one's called Fingerprints, and it's 10 minutes. And yeah, and they make the point. Most crime shows, there's a dead body at the beginning. Ours is a missing person. And they talk about Jerry Bruckheimer telling them if you were channel hopping with the sound down, the show should be visually arresting. They spend a lot of time dressing extras because no city anywhere in the world do the people look quite like they do in New York, and they don't film in New York, they film in LA. And they make sure to give each lead a distinct look that fits their personality. They talk about the disappearing toddler and the set design of the FBI office, which has a lighting setup. And it is also, it's the kind of set where there isn't really, they can go around, they can do Steadicam shots without worrying about accidentally showing where the illusion ends. And talk about the research they do. They do 360-degree shots sometimes, and they actually, it's and spin the camera all the way around a certain point, and they wouldn't be able to do that if the set was not convincing from every angle inside. And finally, we have Fallout Part 2. Sam, will you please answer me? I've been standing here doing this for an entire week now. And Sam was shot in the leg, which is obviously serious. If they don't manage to keep her, keep from bleeding out, it could kill her. And Barry claims no one was shot. I don't want to talk right now. You know what? Sometimes I feel like I'm doing all the heavy lifting in this relationship. And Sam on the phone says, it was an accident, Jack. Don't go tactical. And it is, at the end of the episode, when it is dealt with, like, you're really relieved that they didn't, burst in and shoot Barry. So, yeah. If Barry killed Sydney, he's not going to have too much of a gripe about killing Samantha. She's just another person who betrayed him. Barry listens to the radio, and a caller calls him a wacko. And let's see. And he talks to Jack and says the press is gonna make me, they're gonna turn me into a maniac. Who do you want to give me? The idiot. And of course, the middle-aged white guy immediately realizes he's the one being referred to. And we're told, $687,000. That was what he was offered by the 9/11 Victims Fund. And he refuses. The negotiations don't go well with Barry. Please leave. But before that, please clap. He said it wasn't about the money. He said it's about sending a message. Everything burns. What the hell is he doing? Trying to ensure viewers keep watching until the end of the episode, I think. And Jack wants to trade places with Samantha. And Jack picks up Samantha, and Whitney Houston starts, you know, singing "I Will Always Love You." I was trying to think of a different word. Belts out. That was it. Belts out. I will always love you. You're gonna be alright. You hear me? Say the damn words. Like I said, I just watched a lot of Tarantino. Excuse me. I just gotta make sure. Gotta see if this text is something I need to respond to immediately. It is not. Just deal with that. I can deal with that. There we go. You told him that he would kill her if you didn't call him by midnight tonight. I'm tired of this game. Let's play Hungry Hungry Hippos. Do you want me to give up 3 hostages to speak to my own kids? I mean, they're not that good kids to begin with. Okay, so I only got to speak to one of my kids. I really don't think I should let the last hostage go. Jack getting up behind Barry looked like he was gonna try to grab him from behind, disarm him or something, but then back from commercials and he's sitting again. This is again something that, you know, when I was watching on TV, I was like, I thought we were going there, but I guess not. And Jack tells Barry about his own family. I got nothing to lose, Jack. Man, when I said they weren't that good kids, I was kidding, but I guess he really doesn't think very much of them. Let's see. And yeah, they find the van, Barry's van, but Sydney isn't in there. We get a flashback to 9/11, people looking for their loved ones, and Jack tells Barry Sydney tried to help him and shows the $10,000 check. And Barry points the gun at his own head, and Barry tells Jack where Sydney is. And like a soft voice cover version of Leonard Cohen's "Hallelujah" plays. Excuse me. It works pretty well. I don't think it would have worked as well with the original one. You know, kind of like it didn't work that well in Watchmen. Put your hands where I can see them. I know that's probably something they have to say every time, but dude, if you can't see his hands where they are right now, you need glasses. And they find Sydney, and she's still alive. So yeah, great finale, great season, and I wrote some stuff, and I've got some critic reviews. Okay, let me real quick. I feel like the as over the course of the 2 episodes, you get closer and closer to it feeling like, I guess, yeah, I mean, by the end of the 2nd episode, you really completely understand where Barry is coming from, and like, you know, when you first see him and he's pointing a gun at these, what was it, 5 hostages at the start, and it's like, I mean, you know, it's this show, so obviously you know that, you know, by if you watched the first was 23 episodes, then by sorry first 22 episodes, by episode 23, okay, I know this looks bad, but there might be you know, a reason for, you know, the yeah, like but yeah, you know, over the course of the 2 episodes, you really come to sympathize with him, and really by the end of episode 2, like Sydney, I guess really Sydney was just yeah, the reason that he kidnapped Sydney at all was because it's a show about missing persons. Like, she's not ultimately that important. Like, what they wanted was this hostage situation with and the negotiations. You know, Jack and Barry, they have a lot of conversations over the course of the 2 episodes, and it's really compelling stuff. And it is like, you know, I mean, they even point out, you know, should this even be Jack doing the, you know, the only reason it is him is because Sam is in there. But yeah, let's see. I wanted to, yeah, the following is something I might mention some of in the review, but some of this does kind of spoil episodes. So if I say this in the review and then you watch an episode and you heard my review and you're like, oh, I guess that's how this ends. So it's for some of these. So I'm just gonna, I might use some of this in the review as well. But anyway, the show comments on things such as the shallow world modeling, foster kids and how hard they have it, how difficult it is to get them a good life, mental illness and PTSD, rape in the military, as well as lying to cover for fellow soldiers, for better or for worse, an idealistic young teacher trying to solve all the problems of the students of an inner city high school, how difficult it is to get out of the class you're born into, how hard it can be to be the brother of someone who is making out, which, yeah, that was from the earlier episode. Yeah, I read that earlier in the video, I realized. And the Catholic Church is, or at least appears to be, concerned with possible sexual misconduct, or at least the appearance of it, and the various consequences of 9/11. And yeah, you know, if you've been paying attention, you know that every single one of those is based on an episode from this season, and it is like some of those, if I read them aloud, it's gonna, yeah, it's gonna blow. You know, it's a mushroom cloud laying. Sorry. His movies, Tarantino's movies are just so freaking quotable, you know. The yeah, it's gonna give away the ending of some of these. So yeah, for example, the rape in the military, you know, it's maybe like halfway through the episode before you realize that there's, you know, that he does like sexual assault and rape, you know. So the let's see, the final section. Critics. Now, first we have Metacritic with one user review. This guy gave it a 6 out of 10. Let's see. Yeah, so he says, you know, strong cast, well-written scripts, certainly now the best of its genre, and points out with cases having to be introduced and solved in a 45-minute time period each week, you're never able to get the sort of in-depth look at the subject matter that shows such as The Wire and The Shield provide. And the problem also applies to the characters themselves. And he says the writer's only making half-hearted attempts to delve into the personal lives and motivations of law enforcement officers involved. I wouldn't say it's half-hearted, but I could understand saying, you know, thinking that there's not enough of it. Yeah. And he says too many cases also seem to involve a leap in logic, whereby someone will make a link they could not possibly make based on a seemingly innocuous piece of evidence, an irrelevant conversation, or to wrap everything up before the episode ends. And that is true of some, yeah. And then we have, I believe these are the, excuse me, just briefly gonna check. These are the Metacritic review. Yeah, and just briefly, it has a Metascore of 75 generally favorable reviews based on 29 reviews, with 26 of them positive, 2 of them mixed, and only 1 negative, so that's pretty good. Now, Without a Trace uses the gimmick of having a missing person drop in and out of scenes like a ghost as the agents ponder evidence. The device sounds hokey the way it works. It's stylish and involving. I agree. It really works well. It's something that, like, when I watch other shows that don't have it, it's like, you sometimes feel like, I could be watching a different thing right now, and it's like, yeah, it commands attention without being heavy-handed, serves up characters who seamlessly and effectively blend into the hour's compelling framework. Caliber is very, very high. Gangbusters idea executed with skill and sensitivity. As good a new drama as there is this fall. Without a Trace matches and sometimes surpasses CSI for stylish visual storytelling as it builds a timeline that pieces together details of the 24 hours prior to the subject's disappearance. I agree. That is very, very compelling, and it just like it creates a sort of a focus that yeah, very, very nicely. Let's briefly, yeah, the thing with the 24 hours leading up to where, haven't watched very much CSI at all, but I did watch NCIS and the original Law and Order, and yeah, there it is more kind of, at the end of the day, they tend to be looking for one or more killers. So, yeah, in a bunch of, in a bunch of them, it's a personal, the reason the person was killed, there was some kind of personal reason for it, but it's not as much about, excuse me, I mean, the, there are, I made sure to note for the review, there are some episodes, there's at least one, let's see, I think it was the 6th episode of this season, maybe, that, like, it literally did not have any act of violence on screen or off screen. I think it was episode 6. I'm pretty sure. I mean, that literally is impossible for one of the shows that opens on a dead body. And yeah, sometimes it's the person wanted to leave their situation. It's not that there was actually some kind of, like, what's it called? Yeah, it's not that there was actually something really wrong done. There was no wrongdoing. And that's the thing. It allows them to tell a story like that, because really the only thing that an episode requires is that someone has disappeared, without a trace. That's it. Sometimes the person left on their own and they had good reason to, and it's not some kind of crime, but then the person might be dead, the person might, be involved in some crime, it might be a suicide, it might be a kidnapping, there are a lot of different options, and it really is, like, I mean, it's just, I was never really a fan of NCIS. I watched because it was on, and it wasn't a freaking reality TV show or something. The and I think maybe it had a time slot near The Simpsons, so it was like, might as well also watch NCIS, And yeah, the episodes that were the most compelling were the ones that found a way to work in something different, because it gets to be kind of numbing when it's just episode after episode. Here's a dead body. We got to figure out who I mean, there are Law and Order episodes that I think are very interesting because they found a way. Like I, I want to say there was at least one episode where literally the person, like a gun went off, but it wasn't because the person was intentionally trying to hurt anyone, or it's just something like that. You know, that was legitimately interesting. I didn't see that coming from. Yeah. Now, but yeah, I really like the different setup. You don't get the same kind of fun gizmo fascination that livens up CSI, but you also don't get the leaden expositionary, right, dialogue CSI uses to explain those gizmos. So yeah, that's again, I can only really compare to like NCIS and such, but yeah, that definitely does have, you know, yeah, and I really appreciate that they do. Yeah, as uneven as it is, the series is not showcasing some of the best acting on television. See, I'm not sure I would call it uneven, but the show appears to be a perfect fit with CSI in that it similarly places more emphasis on procedural puzzles than personality. I guess, yeah. Whereas CSI is all about physical evidence, Trace is about psychological profiles. Trace offers sharp writing, self-directing, a cast with real chemistry, sleekly made, absorbing series. Sleek and satisfying Jerry Bruckheimer's latest is compelling drama. The resolutions may sometimes be forced. Yeah. And the characterizations, I'm not sure I would say the characterizations are generally thin, but some of them are. Each episode still has a rhythm and a finality, which brings to mind the executive producer's CSI in terms of ensemble performances and crime fighting. Oh, that's right, he is behind CSI as well. What emerges is an engaging investigation that viewers will find themselves caught up in. It's well made. The clipped dialogue, scientific detecting, the camera tricks, and computer gamesmanship, the back and forth progression of the stories, the bricks that really matter in the construction show are all quite the same as the CSI. See, I can imagine. I can't. I like when they do stuff like when that time where they had the messages from Delia Rivers and they cut them into uh, a new recording and use that to make Freddie Catan think that somehow Delia was still alive because he didn't personally kill her. So it's, and then it's like, well, you killed the guy who killed her. You know, maybe you should have been more sure that, yeah. But I do think that I would say all that I watched of the show was interesting and well made, and I guess, yeah, I mean sometimes you do miss some of the visual kind of, yeah, but I do like the way it does, yeah. A show that does what it's supposed to do, keep you riveted and entertained. The potential for cop burnout exists with all these with all the new crime shows this season, but Trace is among the most promising entries. Without a Trace ends up delivering enough twists and turns to hold up its end of the basic TV show viewer contract. And also visits the cliche corral on occasion. Trace adopts the requisite cop show clipped pace and poker-faced acting. The procedural approach is catchy. There's something irresistible about forensic drama that hooks you with hints at the ending and works backwards from there. I think I hadn't really thought about it that way, but it's true. It really is like, you know that this person went missing, and every so often you'll get a new piece of information as to how that that gradually lets you piece together how it happened and where they are and such. And yeah, that is it is yeah. Trace is an engaging and it's not adult drama, which means it's just the kind of series that should rate a rave. Except for one thing, there's a desire to drop the quality just for the pilot episode 2. I really don't see that anyway. It takes on a familiar formula with urgency and emotion. Attractive but not arty, intelligent but not brainy. There's nothing but this is nothing to build a night around. The cast is good, action is crisp. Flashbacks are seamlessly interwoven, and dialogue is terse and effective. It's a fine film noirish vibe and an irresistible mystery hook. Not a trace about the work, about the puzzle. If you want the untidy cop stuff, stick with NYPD Blue. Even if the clips dialogue sometimes it's just cop show parody, the well-constructed mysteries give the latter trace a strong foundation. So that premise doesn't feel real. I don't know. I guess maybe at some point I'll read the guy's full review, but I really don't agree with that, at least out of context or whatever. Slickly shot comedy series with talent ensemble cast. It's not revolutionary groundbreaking by any means, but it is a decent crime drama. Our Trace, our derivative, is a solid program enough to please CSI audiences. And the one negative review says this is essentially CSI without the microscopes, petri dishes, or Marg Hildenberger. Yawn. And yeah, see, I can't speak to that, but it is. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Definitely does bear a strong resemblance to, you know, yeah, I know enough about CSI to know that, but excuse me, I do think I mean, it's not the only, you know, show about like trying to find missing person. I forget. Did this start before, during, or after? I don't think it was after, at least. 1-800-Missing with the psychic girl. I watched all of that show. I couldn't, you know, I enjoyed watching it. Some of it was definitely a bit, you know, not necessarily the best, but it was always entertaining. And it is, I mean, the the change from season 1 to season 2 is pretty incredible. It really is ridiculous. Yeah, I guess I'm not gonna go into detail about it here, but like, yeah, the thing I wanted to get at was that the what was it again? Let's see. The the right. 1-800-Missing. So yeah, so there's at least some other shows where it's not a murder, it's a missing persons thing, you know. But there are a lot of like CSI spin-offs and shows that are very much like CSI. I mean, at least something like I don't know about the spin-offs of Law and Order. I've never watched any of them. I haven't avoided them. They haven't really been on when I was watching TV. I think the original Law and Order at least does have the hook that in addition to seeing the murder case solved, you also see the trial. You know, I don't know. I just feel like how much can you do with, you know, we have to solve a murder and, you know, yeah. The I just feel like missing persons, it opens a lot more. Like sometimes, yeah, the person is dead, you know, but you might not find out until much later in the episode, and you find out a lot about the person, you know, which isn't necessarily, yeah, from what I remember at least, there are episodes of NCIS and Law and Order where you don't really find out much about who the, yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess, isn't that it? That this show is about who is the person who disappeared, and, you know, you find out a lot about the people close to them, the people who might have been involved with the disappearance in one way or another. Or could, like, say, oh yeah, he did say something, weird that day I just didn't think much of it, but now that he's missing, I realized, that kind of thing where those other shows, it's like, oh, we found this or that piece of physical evidence, and now let's analyze it, and here's a neat visual, and like, you know, yeah, I gotta say, I'm way more interested in the psychological profiles than the physical evidence, and I'm so much more compelled by there's a missing person, we have to find them, and if we don't find them within this amount of time, we might never be able to find them, or if we find them, they'll already be dead by then, then, okay, here's a dead body, let's find out who did it and why, and just, yeah. But I do get it, it even though we know that it's obviously a piece of fiction, the moment that that we're watching something, someone was killed, and let's try to find out why, because immediately, like, the lizard brain goes in. I don't know if that's what the lizard brain is. It's like pointing to make a point. I didn't realize until WatchMojo did their list that Harrison Ford points a lot. Anyway, it goes directly to the lizard brain and says, somebody is killing people. Maybe I'm in danger. I want to find out who is killing people, and I really hope that they end up in custody or failing that shot or something, But I don't want them to be out there, and I don't want, I really hope I find out who it is. I don't want to be going around without knowing who it is, because they might kill me too. So I get the appeal. I definitely do. But I really am way more interested in. I mean, I looked it up. Without a Trace, as far as I can tell, it doesn't have a single spin-off. I mean, you're telling me you couldn't. I mean, aren't the CSI ones just let's go to a different city? Like, or sorry, there might be some other ones, but I feel like I've heard that some of them it's just that the setting is a different city from the one that is usually. Anyway, right. So that covers season 1. Almost 3 hours, so not too bad for one of my videos. It's not that short for one of my videos, is what I'm getting at. Yeah, I really love this show. I'm so glad to be watching it again. I mean, obviously I have watched it since, let's see, I watched the first several seasons. I mean, I don't think it has been like, wait, let me think. I've probably watched at least some episodes sometime in the last 10 years or so. But, like, being able to sit down and watch all of it, yeah, So I'm really glad that I'm able to do that now, and I'm really glad to be able to watch it again, considering that it has been years since I watched it, and, it's almost, I remembered a lot of this season from then, so, but that's also, the way that I don't know if that's what they do everywhere, but here, when they show, and I don't know if they do it anymore, but when I was watching TV, they would show one episode per day, and sometimes they would show 2 episodes in a day, but only one of those 2 would be a new episode. So if you tuned in early, you'd be watching an episode repeat from the day before, which helps you, if it's a show you really like, you can stand to watch it. Well, I watch a lot of Simpsons like that, and Married with Children, this, so yeah, and it would be a new episode every single day. So, if you watch it like that, you're able to watch every episode twice, and B, yeah, if you watch it like that, 21 days, you've watched an entire season of the show. I don't think there's very many times in my life where I've had to wait an entire week between watching 2 episodes of a TV show. Excuse me. Don't get me wrong. I get that it really lets you chew on an episode before you watch the next one. But I've always been a much bigger fan of a new episode every single day to really, yeah. The 4400 and Heroes, those two shows, I think maybe possibly lost. I think those I might have watched one episode per week, but other than that, I'm okay with waiting until it, like, a lot of the time I think I would start watching a show after the first entire season had already aired. So what they would do is they would show, yeah, see, that's part of that's an important part. If I started watching this on TV when the second season had already started airing, they would air an episode per day of the first season, and then they would air an episode of the second season per day until they reached the most recently aired of the ones that air one per week, which means, and then they would start over. So, I've watched every episode of, I'm pretty sure Married with Children, certainly. I've watched every episode of several times because of that. And it would be like, oh, it's, that's the end. Now it's going to start all the way over again. And it's, on Married with Children, it's a show you can, you know, some of the episodes in the very first, I maintain there's almost no bad episode of Married with Children. And almost all of the bad ones. What was it? There's 4 bad episodes in the, what was it, 262 run. And 3 of the 4 are failed pilots. And failed pilots are, yeah, when a show airs what is supposed to be a pilot for a different show, those tend to suck. I haven't seen very many good ones. So anyway, yeah, that. But yeah, so that was, I was able to watch every episode a bunch of times, and that also means that the early seasons are the ones you watch most times, and yeah, I enjoy watching the show so much that I could stand to watch all the episodes several times, and yeah, so, and I guess to briefly answer, I think this is the last show. Wait, sorry. I think I'm strongly considering asking for Smallville for the one. Really, the only argument against it I can think of is that I guess I would be opening every single video on it by saying I haven't read very much of the comics. I like there are some excellent Superman stories. I haven't read a lot of the comics. Anyway, the other than that, I think we're out of shows that I watched when I was younger, and now I'm able to watch all of it. I do have plans for shows that I haven't watched or haven't watched very much of that seem interesting. Now let me think. The the thing was right, and yeah, shows like, I'm not sure I'm ever going to do more videos on Lost, any videos on Heroes. Did I do a video on Heroes? I might have done an actual, like, just a review of Heroes. I don't think I talked specifically about the seasons anyway. And I think I did a little bit on the 4400, which I probably also wouldn't go back. There's some of these shows, it's just a lot of the excitement about the show is watching an episode right when it airs, and like going online and talking to people, which I don't know that anybody knows exactly why IMDb decided to do away with the forums, because that was a really good place to go for that kind of thing. But yeah, speculation about what's going to be in the, does this tie into this and this. And once the entire show is aired, it's like a lot of the excitement is gone, because that was why you were watching. And that's one of the things I really like about shows like this. I'm sorry, but today, sitting down and watching some of those shows, like, I enjoyed a lot of the 4400. I think the first 2 seasons had a lot of great stuff in them. And I don't think that everything was wrong and bad about seasons 3 and 4. I don't think it went past season 4. But today, like sitting down, knowing how it ends, knowing that there isn't going to be more of it, you know, yeah, just it is not as compelling, and that's where I like a show like this, where it's just like, I mean, at the end of the day, it's never gonna be completely mind blowing. You know, it's never gonna go completely crazy. Like, you know, when yeah, the Lost, 4400, Heroes, they would sometimes just do something genuinely crazy, and it's like, wow, that completely changes. They can do a new kind of story now because you know it's a superpower that's been introduced, or some kind of something that doesn't exist in the real world has been introduced, and now they can do stories that involve that thing. And yeah, I sometimes that's just exhausting, and it's just not as interesting once the entire show has run. But I think I've pretty much said everything. And yeah, I am. Yeah, I love this season. I love this show. I'm really glad to be watching it again after so many years of taking a break. I've been wanting to, but I cannot. I've talked about why I don't do Netflix before, so I'm not going to talk about it here. And yeah, so just really relieved to be able to watch it again. I've missed the team and the cases, and yeah. So I will, yes, end the video. That's the term. So I hope you enjoyed watching as I enjoyed watching and reviewing, and I'll catch you next time.